promise I didn't forget about you guys. Is January weird for anybody else? It's a weird month. And then before you know it, it's August. All right, so it's been a few minutes since I've made a video. I do have a book review for you today, but it's a little lackluster. It's kind of a lackluster book. So the last couple months have been just bananas. My last video talked about this giant haul that I had gotten, and I spent the majority of December and the better part of the first couple weeks of January dealing with that lot. It completely gridlocked my shop, and anybody who knows me in like a real way or a parasocial way or whatever knows that my shop is super important to me, and every bit of production of any kind just ground to a halt in here. I had books everywhere, and I'll splice in some pictures. I didn't do a great job documenting the whole situation, but I took pictures throughout. There's unfortunately not going to be like an incredible book haul video or anything like that, because the way that this stuff came in and the way that I've had to deal with it, it's just I've had to move things out as fast as possible. Most of that being the bulk, of the schlock, what I would call the schlock, and that's all of this like contemporary fiction and contemporary historical nonfiction, that sort of thing. There's just tons of that stuff. And it was completely gumming up my ability to deal with any of the books that I actually wanted to keep and sell slowly. So I ended up doing sort of a combination of things. I've done some donation to a couple of places that I really like. One of them is a local bookstore called $2 Books, and they have a situation worked out with the local prison system, or the state prison system, I should say, where every couple of months the state prison comes into a shop and they buy all of his mass market paperbacks and they bring them to prisoners. So a huge portion of the acquisition was mass market paperbacks that needed a home. And so I got, not all of them, but I got a fair number to him, basically what he could handle in his small store without just completely causing collapse. Too much inventory can be just as big a problem as too little. So, but we hooked him up, and I had some sellers come by, or some buyers, I should say. I had some buyers come by and pick through. I did 50 cents a book, $1 a book, that kind of thing. Had them come through and pick through. And then there was another donation that I gave to a free library in a place called Larkspur that's not far from me. And they're just like a tiny little mountain town. They service, sort of an underserved community there. And then I finally got the schlock down to sort of a more manageable size within the space that I have here. I really wanted it out of the way one weekend, so I dropped my price way down low for the whole lot just to get it out of here. And I had a guy who runs a cool little booth in an antique mall, and this stuff was perfect for his booth, and it was just the right price for him. So I was really happy to get it all gone and out of my shop. So it's gone. What I have left is what I want and what I want to sell. And it includes a huge number of high quality antique folio, slipcase editions, along with sealed folio slipcases, just wackadoo cool stuff. Lots of signed stuff, tons and tons of vintage pulps, tons of vintage westerns, which we need to have a conversation about. and let's see what else. Oh, yeah, all of the science fiction. So one of the things that I found is that having picked this lot before I actually did the full acquisition, picking it like 6 months prior to this, I had already acquired a great deal of the bulk of vintage science fiction that was in this lot. But that isn't to say that there wasn't any. There was still quite a bit. And what would happen when I would open a box, you would look down in the box and it would, like say a box of hardbacks, right? Inside this box of hardbacks, there would be, 20 or so hardbacks, most of them kind of schlock. Think Clive Cussler, James Patterson, that sort of thing. But then in the void in the corner, I would reach in and I would pull out a handful of vintage paperbacks. And it was like that all the way through. There were boxes of vintage paperbacks solo. They were stuffed in these other boxes as filler. And everything is in extremely fine condition. Along with the paperbacks, the vintage paperbacks and the science fiction and all that kind of stuff, also acquired a huge number of uncorrected proofs, which I still haven't even had a chance to go through. And what was lots of historical books related to the West, related to Native America. I had to let a great number of those go, but one of the things I did collect were these groups of Bison Press books. And so the Bison Press is a university press out of Nebraska, I believe. And the amount of information that they cover regarding Native America and the colonization of the West, it's profound. I was very, very, very impressed by just the Bison Press collection that I found in general. So that's something that will be kind of going up for sale at some point soon. So that's sort of update number one regarding the acquisition. I have my shop back to some extent, although there's on the other side of the camera over there is still a huge number of boxes that, they're books that I'm getting listed. They're books that I'm preparing for live auctions on Whatnot. So I still have a pretty massive task ahead of me to get through this inventory and kind of get it sold and moved out, because it's only going to be 6 months or so, and then we're going to be packing this shop up and moving across country again as a family, because that's what we do. Yeah. So that's that. The other thing before I get into the review, the Whatnot auctions. And I know that sort of in the last set of videos, I had done some book hauls. I had talked about being accepted onto Whatnot and selling books there. And it has just been fantastic. It has been an amazing experience. I have made some tremendously unexpected friendships, and I'm just tickled. It's a very wholesome thing. I feel like the book, I can't speak for the other selling groups on Whatnot, but the book group in general is very wholesome. Everyone seems very committed to getting the very special books into the hands of people who genuinely want them. And I don't think there's anything that makes a bookseller happier than selling a book to somebody that absolutely wants that book. So, and you get to do it in a more conversational way than you would, selling on another marketplace like eBay. So that doesn't mean that things aren't being posted on my eBay market anymore. They definitely are, especially some of the higher quality things that aren't necessarily fit for an auction environment or every auction environment. That being said, I have a show coming up on Saturday. It will be what I refer to as a cheap show. So it'll be $2 starts on mass markets and that sort of thing. There's some good stuff in there. It's a great way to get a good deal. And then additionally, I have to run a couple of shows that are outside of my lane. And what is my lane? My lane is mostly science fiction, and it's vintage literature. That's kind of where I feel comfortable, along with, esoteric, philosophy, religion, that sort of thing. nature, biology, UFOs. It's all esoteric. So basically what I need to do in this lot, I have a very large number of vintage pulps. So think late 40s, early 50s, mystery, that sort of thing, thriller, mystery, things with scantily clad women on the front and men in hats. So, and then I also have this just insane number of vintage Westerns. And even though I don't sell vintage Westerns and I don't know a whole lot about them, there's something about the appeal of the cover art that is very familiar to science fiction cover art and science fiction paperbacks in general. So I know that there's sort of a growing interest in Western paperbacks. So kind of one of my missions for this year is to dive into that collection, and I'll do some videos kind of about those collections and I don't know, get them into the hands of people who actually want them. And that's not to say I don't want them, but I have a lot of books. I have to stay in my lane. So I think that's pretty much all the housekeeping. I do have some other videos that are coming up pretty soon. Thanks for bearing with me. And yeah, let's talk about Slan real quick. Okay, Slan or Slan by A.E. Van Vogt. Van Vogt. I kind of like Van Vogt. It has that weight. It's not weight, Van Vogt. It's probably Van Vogt though. Yeah. It's funny, of the new wave books that deal with ESP, and there are an enormous number of them, this one is interesting. I think it was amongst the early ones, but all in all, as much as I was excited to read more Van Vogt, and I had sort of invested myself in this idea that that he doesn't get the critical recognition that he deserves, I don't know if that's the case. It's a clean book. It's very cleanly written. It's very efficient. It's an extremely efficient book. It cuts right to the chase, and you can feel that it's something that would have been easily serialized at some point. But ultimately, it's one of those books that even the premise itself, and maybe this is just because I'm ruined on really great premises, but the premise itself, it wasn't captivating. And essentially it deals with a young man who is a part of a group of genetically altered humans called the Slan. And the Slan have this ability to read minds and communicate telepathically and do very quick information exchanges. But unfortunately, the main character found himself alone in this world at the age of 9 when his parents were murdered by Slan hunters. And as you can probably imagine, people with profound abilities aren't necessarily appreciated by normal humans. So there was, you're dropped into this situation where you're somewhere in the deep future, and the human path of evolution has bifurcated for a spoilery reason. And one group is still, quote, normal people, and the other group are people with heightened intellectual and mental capabilities. So the boy has to sort of find his way. He's kidnapped fairly early on by a woman who wants to use his power in order to do robberies and fund a drinking habit and that sort of thing. So there is a little bit of puritanical edge to his opinion of the woman, and that it has a very anti-alcohol consumption appeal to it, which is just, I don't know, culturally that's kind of interesting because at the time this book was written, everybody drank constantly. Maybe that's an overstatement, but it is what it is. So ultimately, he has to make it on his own. He grows up and he prepares himself for what he expects to be this sort of battle royale between humans and Slan. But in the middle, he finds evidence of a third evolutionary offshoot, and essentially they are Slan that have none of the outward appearance of being Slan. Slans can be identified by these tendrils at the back of their skull, and there are a group of Slans that have no tendrils, and so they can blend right in with humans effortlessly. Now, the book, Van Vogt attempts a twist in the ending, and I don't want to spoil it. If you do read it, this is a quick read, and you'll get to the twist soon enough. It doesn't take long, necessarily, and insofar as books go. And yeah, it just I never felt like I got any real payout. And honestly, it's one of the things that happens a lot in these early new wave books, is that, you know, they're still kind of working out how to come up with an original conceit and give it to the reader, and then still give them a twist, a surprise twist at the end. And I kind of feel like this was an attempt to do that, but ultimately the payout was kind of So I'm not going to completely poo-poo this book. I was highly entertained reading it. Well, I don't know if highly entertained is the right word, but I was entertained. It entertained me. That's about all I can ask for from a book. And then, I have to accept the fact that not every book is going to tickle that little part of my brain that makes me go, ooh, what a new idea, what a novel notion and then, you go and you chew on that notion for, months or weeks or years at a time. But you're not going to find that from this book. Not to say that it isn't entertaining, but it's just not going to find it in this book. So I am in the middle of Stand on Zanzibar right now. And I'm just completely blown away by it. So look forward to that video. I'm probably going to slow the pace of videos down a little bit. And I have a lot of irons in the fire. I have a lot of things to prepare for over the next 6 months. And I still have a lot of woodworking projects that I need to get through between now and then. So if you want sort of live updates of what's going on and kind of where I am in my process, whatever that is, whatever process is that I'm into at the moment, tune into the Whatnot shows. I've been doing them every Saturday morning for the last few weeks. That probably won't continue either. I'm probably going to space those out a little bit more, but suffice to say, I'll live stream those shows more often than I will make videos for this channel for the next few months. I also don't want to come and do a video just to fulfill some arbitrary schedule. That doesn't do me any good, and it doesn't make the quality of whatever bullshit I'm saying into the camera any better. So I'm really going to stick to doing videos that I feel very compulsive to do. So that's all I have for you today. There's a link in the description that will get you a credit if you sign up onto Whatnot. And if you do that, you follow the shows. This may scratch that itch for book hauls, because most of the books that I'm bringing in right now, they'll go through those shows first before they end up onto the eBay page. So, check it out. And they're fun. It's a fun time. It's very chill. There's some really nice people that hang out in the live streams, and it's just it's a lot of fun. So anyway, have a good 2024. Install your ad blockers. There's no reason why anybody should deal with YouTube ads. I don't know. I know I'm going to get a lot of finger wagging about just pay for premium. Whatever. install an ad blocker and pay for premium. You'll like life better with an ad blocker. Trust me. Sayonara, everybody. Take it easy.